believed that thousands of years ago, as man yearned to find out a higher purpose to his existence and answers to questions like where did he come from and where is he going to after death, many earnest seekers deep in the forests of India began to hear sounds that formed the basis of the Hindu faith. These sounds or chants were meticulously preserved over time through an incredible oral tradition that was passed down from generation to generation in a meticulous, metered manner until finally, at the onset of Sanskrit writing, it was collated into the texts known as the Vedas. Over time, the purity of this pristine knowledge became somewhat tainted through differing interpretations, as well as other factors affecting India's history. This was the passion for the birth and history of the Arya Samaj movement in the late 1800s in India that became as much a part of the birth and history of indeed Hinduism in South Africa.
The Arya Samaj movement was founded by a great reformer of 19th century India, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, in April 1875. Arya means noble and Samaj means an association, so Arya Samaj means an association of noble people. The Arya Samaj movement was founded primarily to lift Hinduism out of its slumber, social decay and subjugation, especially since the Mughal and British invasions, and restore the religion of the ancient Vedas to its former pristine glory. But the Reformation that began in India soon grew beyond its borders. With the advent of indenture, impoverished Indians were soon taken as labourers to other areas of the British colony, and so Hinduism spread to Mauritius, Trinidad, British Guyana, Fiji and South Africa. The indentured labourers came from the lower socio-economic rungs and were not scholars of Indian culture. Their primary concern was earning a livelihood. Separated from linguistic, cultural and religious roots in India, Hindu culture was thus left to grow on very impoverished resources. But as Hindu society in South Africa was slowly losing its identity, the Arya Samaj movement in India was flourishing, and its swamis and preachers began to visit countries abroad where Indians had settled. In South Africa especially, their visits have played an indelible role in the practice of Hinduism and helped foster the growth of Hindu thought ever since. The Vedic philosophy expounded by Swami Dayanand Saraswati made a tremendous impact on the early settlers in South Africa. The Arya Samaj, with its total opposition to discrimination based on caste, gender, race and economic circumstance, had a great appeal to their own circumstance. "45 years after the arrival of the first indentured Indians, the first Hindu scholar to come to South Africa, Professor Bhai Parmanand, began the Hindu reform movement and established in various areas Hindu young men's associations. Thereafter, in 1908, Swami Shankaranand Maharaj was welcomed by a large group of enthusiastic people at the Durban harbour. He delivered talks on Hindu culture, religion, Indian civilization, ceremonies, the importance of the vernacular, and emphasized the importance of festivals. Largely because of his efforts, for the first time in South Africa, Deepavali became recognized as a festival of Hindus in South Africa. Also, due to his efforts, on the 31st of May 1912, a conference of all South African Hindus was held and the South African Hindu Mahasabha was formed. Later that year, on the 22nd of December 1912, a locally born stalwart of the Arya Samaj, Pandit Bhawani Dayal, returned from his marriage in India at the age of 20. He and his young wife, Jagrani Devi, involved themselves in Gandhiji's famous Satyagraha program. They were both imprisoned in October 1913. His passion and fervor for the truth saw him play an active role within the Arya Samaj movement in South Africa. He ardently preached the Vedic religion, pioneered the propagation of Hindi, and also served later on as a president of the Natal Indian Congress. In South Africa, the Natal Indian Congress was established by Mahatma Gandhi even before the African National Congress came into being. To exert the utmost pressure on the apartheid regime in South Africa and to give full effect to the liberation struggle, India employed a total boycott of South Africa and imposed the strictest sanctions. But the price paid by Hindus locally was a great one. Isolated from any contact with the motherland, the community had to rely on its own resources to keep the spirit of Hinduism and culture alive. By the end of 1925, Arya Samajas were well established throughout Natal. Yet there was no central coordination or unity, and so, during the birth centenary celebration of Swami Dayanand in 1925, the Arya Pratinidhi Sabha was established. This became the parent body of all Arya Samaj organizations in South Africa, and through the regular satsangs, Hindi classes, training of priests, musical classes, theatre, building of schools, and social welfare projects, the Arya Pratinidhi Sabha was able to maintain and even grow the practice and understanding of Hinduism in South Africa. Early in 1918, an incident in an Indian area of Durban sparked a moving scene that gave birth to a home for the homeless. A beggar was being beaten by a policeman for using a public toilet as an overnight shelter. His cries reached the ear of the then president of the Arya Yuvuk Sabha, the AYS, Mr. D.G. Satyadeva, who, on the same day, reported the incident to the Sabha. After consideration of the 9th principle of Arya Samaj that said, "No person shall be content in his own welfare, but must find his welfare in the welfare of others," a decision was taken to provide a home for the homeless. By 1920, a building was purchased, and on the 1st of May 1921, a home for the homeless was established in Bel Air Road, Mayville. The first child to be taken into the newly formed home, a 6-year-old little boy, grew to become president of the very home he was raised in and served with love, compassion, and humility for 38 years. His personal experiences inspired him to be totally dedicated to caring for the frail, and even after becoming a teacher, Dr. Sushipal Rambaros continued to serve the home until his passing in 2010. Today, the Aryan Benevolent Home has 10 campuses throughout South Africa, continuing to serve the needs of the frail, the aged, and the homeless. Another renowned stalwart of the Arya Samaj movement in South Africa was Pandit Nardev Vedalanka. He arrived in South Africa in 1947 as a Gujarati teacher, but stayed on to successfully spread the tenets of Vedic culture. In 1948, he established the Hindi Siksha Sangh, which gave rise to the first fully fledged Hindu radio station in South Africa, Radio Hindwani. He was also instrumental in establishing the Vedic Priest Academy and the Veda Niketan, both part of the 5 standing committees of the Arya Pratinidhi Sabha. The Narayan Jivan Vedic Center, the Arya Youth League, and a finance committee make up the remaining standing committees. Today, almost 8 decades since its formation, the Sabha remains a mature and flourishing organization which continues to offer direction and leadership to the community at large in the religious, social, cultural, and educational fields. Its mission is still to promote the acceptance of the 10 principles of the Arya Samaj as a blueprint for transformation in one's personal life and in society at large, and to conduct all such activities which are in keeping with the spirit of these principles. The Vedic Prohit Mandal attends to the religious needs of the community. Rituals are performed in accordance with Vedic principles and philosophy, with emphasis on the 16 Vedic sanskaras or ceremonies. Providing counsel and advice, especially in times of tragedy, dissemination of the Veda Niketan books and literature, training of yajaks or yajikas, the lay preachers, etc., are some of the duties. The priest training is open to males and females over the age of 21. A 3-year course involving examinations written at the half-yearly stage and the final at the end of each year is prescribed. There are orals and practical aspects to each examination. An ordaining ceremony at which a certificate is awarded and a priest gown is worn after taking a solemn oath is held annually. Meetings where Pandits and Panditas meet to discuss matters or issues related to their field of work take place quarterly. Workshops are also arranged to assist priests in establishing uniformity in the performance of various sanskaras. The Purohits and Yajaks of the Mandal are looked upon as custodians of the Vedic culture. The Arya Pratinidhi Sabha has embarked on a grassroots initiative to teach the performance of the Havan ceremony in its simplest form to communities at large. These Bahukund Yajnas are held where many people can participate and benefit. Bahu means many and Kund means vessel. The Veda Niketan was established with the objective of upholding the 3rd principle of the Arya Samaj, which reads, His word, the Veda. The Veda is the scripture of true knowledge. It is the paramount duty of every Arya to learn and teach the Veda, to hear it read, and to recite it to others. The Ved Niketan promotes Vedic religion and philosophy by engaging in two broad activities: conducting of religious examinations and publishing Vedic literature. Some of the publications include the Ved Jyoti magazine that is published once every 3 months, containing articles which aim to inform, educate and stimulate thought, as well as keeping readers informed of happenings within the Arya Samaj. A Havan for Me booklet, which can guide a family to perform a simple Havan on any occasion. A prospectus containing details of the 5 different grades of examinations, prescribed books, the syllabuses, etc. And ever-popular pamphlets that cover a wide range of issues on Hinduism and have received wide acclaim from the public. The Narayan Jivan Vedic School was built for the community of Kenville by Mr. R.N. Jivan to promote the Hindu religion and serve the social, cultural and educational needs of the community. In recent times, as the school became less used, the property was donated to the Arya Pratinidhi Sabha. The Narayan Jivan Vedic Center now provides primary health care for over 10,000 informal residents who live in the vicinity of the center. The Arya Youth League is the organization's youth body, promoting the education of youth on Hindu religion and culture, without isolating them from very important issues that they also face today. Youth camps and outings are arranged, ensuring a deeper commitment to the Arya Samaj principles and continuity for the future. The Finance Committee ensures that the Sabha's finances are being soundly maintained and books audited annually. In addition, Seva is undertaken at all of the Samajas according to the changing needs of the times, and the noble projects continue to impact on the generosity of its noble members. Based on the highest ideals of truth, righteousness, peace and non-violence as emanating from the ancient Vedas, the Arya Samaj movement in South Africa has consistently grown from the tough times of indenture to an age of freedom in the new South Africa. And to manage the magnanimous benevolent projects, massive fundraising events have become necessary. And so, from the somber heights of Vedic values, the annual ABH Chatsworth Fair unites all through fun, frolic and feast to help fill the coffers and ensure the continued commitment to caring and sharing. Stalls abound with Indian fare, from foods to philosophy, from song and dance to the screaming squeals of ecstatic children. The Arya Pratinidhi Sabha remains a vibrant institution in society today, continuing to offer spiritual guidance to the community and actively promoting Vedic Dharma in this age of rampant materialism. It stands proud of achievements that form the core of Hindu society in South Africa. In keeping with Hindu traditions of cremation, the first crematoriums at Pietermaritzburg and Ladysmith were built. The first home for the aged and fragile of colour in South Africa, the ABH, continues its mission of caring, sharing and serving for more than 90 years now. The first Hindu women priests, given equal recognition in Vedic society, now graduated because of the continuing efforts of the Vedaniketan. The first private secular school promoting the vernacular, the Westfall Hindu School, has grown from humble beginnings to a fully fledged modern facility, largely because of the commitment of the Sabha to the promotion of Hindu culture. The Vedas totally prohibit the use of all kinds of drugs, smoking, drinking, or use of alcohol, killing of animals for food, and even gambling, etc. It advocates pure vegetarian diets, including milk products, and that too according to season, suitable to one's body, in a reasonable quantity, and also earned through righteous means. Swami Dayanand Saraswati believed in the existence of only one supreme reality, which should be worshipped in spirit, not form. The multitude of different divine beings signify but different aspects of one absolute existence. His philosophy and exhortation to all at the time was, go back to the Vedas, as all knowledge is contained in the Vedas, which forms the bedrock of Sanatan Dharma. The propagation of not only Hindi, but other Indian languages as well, and the wider recognition of Hindu festivals, all have benefited from the pioneering efforts of the Arya Samaj and its commitment to the betterment of Hindu society.